A lion freezes. Not because it is afraid of you, because it is afraid of what is in your hand. For most of your species' history, that single object decided everything. It decided who ate, who fled, who lived through the night. You are not the fastest animal on the savannah. You are not the strongest. Your claws are soft. Your teeth are flat. And yet, for tens of thousands of years, the moment you lifted a sharpened stick in your hand, the most dangerous animals on Earth made the same choice. They turned around and walked away. What changes in an animal's mind in that single second? Researchers have actually tested this, and the answer is not what most people expect. In 2011, ecologist Liana Zinet ran an experiment on raccoons living along the California coast. She didn't show them weapons. She played them recordings of human voices, calm, ordinary conversation, nothing aggressive at all. The raccoons reacted as if a predator had walked into the room. They fled the area, ate less, and stayed away far longer than when they heard the sound of an actual mountain lion. Zinet's conclusion was simple and unsettling. To most wild animals, you are not just another predator. You are the worst one they have ever met. That fear didn't start with guns. It didn't start with farms or fences or cities. It started somewhere much older, much smaller, and much more personal. Picture the scene. A small group of early humans, maybe 6 or 7 of them, moving along a riverbank roughly 400,000 years ago. They are not strong enough to fight a horse. They cannot outrun it either. But in their hands, they carry long wooden shafts, sharpened and fire-hardened at the tip. Archaeologists found exactly these weapons preserved in a German peat bog near a site called Schöningen. The spears are nearly 400,000 years old, among the oldest hunting weapons ever discovered, found alongside the butchered bones of wild horses. This was not improvised. The spears were balanced for throwing, shaped with intention. Somewhere along that riverbank, an animal looked at a human holding one of these for the very first time, and something in its instincts recalculated. That recalculation is the part worth slowing down on. An animal does not understand a spear the way you do. It cannot reason about sharpened wood or thrown force. What it can do is read body language, and a body holding a weapon changes completely. The stance shifts. The arm cocks back. The eyes narrow and lock onto a single target instead of scanning the wider group. Biologist Craig Packer, who has spent decades studying lions in the Serengeti, documented something striking. Lions that had been hunted by humans with spears, and later with other tools, began avoiding entire territories where humans were known to walk, even generations after the original conflict had ended. The fear wasn't relearned each time. It was passed down, parent to cub, almost like a cultural memory of which places were safe to enter and which ones were not. So which is it? Is the animal afraid of you or afraid of the object in your hand? The honest answer is both, but not equally. Early in human history, you were not especially threatening on your own. Slow, soft-skinned, easy to outrun. The object changed the equation. A pointed weapon extended your reach beyond your own body, turned a clumsy, two-legged animal into something that could kill from a distance most predators couldn't match. Animals didn't need to understand physics to register that shift. They only needed to survive a few encounters to learn the pattern. And prey animals that survive a close call tend to become exceptionally good at recognizing the warning signs the second time around. This is where the story gets stranger, because the learning didn't stay confined to spears. As weapons changed, animal behavior changed with them. Researchers studying elephant populations in regions with a long history of poaching have found that herds react with measurable alarm specifically to the silhouette of a rifle, distinct from their reaction to a walking stick or a camera held in the same posture. They are not reading your intentions. They are reading the shape of the threat itself, a shape encoded by repeated, brutal experience. The weapon itself becomes a symbol the animal's nervous system has learned to fear, almost independent of who is holding it. Now, reconstruct that ancient riverbank scene one more time, but slower. The horse herd grazes. Wind moves through the grass. A human raises a spear, and before the throw even lands, before any contact is made, the herd has already broken into a sprint. The decision happened before the danger was confirmed. That gap between the sight of the weapon and the confirmation of harm is exactly where instinct and learning take over from raw reaction. Animals that hesitated in that gap did not pass on their hesitation. Animals that fled at the first sign of a raised arm did. Here is the counterintuitive twist. You might assume this fear response made early humans the apex predator of every landscape they entered. It didn't, not at first. For most of the Pleistocene, large predators like cave lions and saber-toothed cats showed little fear of humans at all, because humans hadn't yet proven themselves dangerous enough to deserve it. Fear is not automatic. It has to be earned through repeated demonstration. Anthropologist James Sussman, who has spent years studying hunting societies, points out that early human hunting success actually depended less on raw weapon power and more on patience, tracking knowledge, and group coordination, skills that built a reputation over time, encounter by encounter, generation by generation. The spear was the tool. The reputation was the real weapon, and reputations take far longer to build than to use. Which means the fear you can trigger today by simply raising your arm is not really about you at all. It is the compressed inheritance of hundreds of thousands of years of animals, updating their threat assessments based on what your species has repeatedly proven itself capable of. Think about what that means the next time you see a wild animal freeze at the sight of a human silhouette, weapon or no weapon. It is not reacting to you specifically. It is reacting to an evolutionary memory written into its nervous system by every ancestor of yours who ever raised a spear, knocked an arrow, or aimed a rifle. You inherited tools. Animals inherited fear of those tools, passed down with the same persistence as any other survival trait. And it goes both directions. Just as prey animals learned to read the shape of danger in human hands, your own brain evolved alongside that same exchange. The instinct to read a stranger's posture, to notice a clenched fist or a raised arm before you consciously register the threat, did not appear out of nowhere. It is the same ancient circuitry that once told a horse to run before the spear was even thrown, just rerouted through a different species, shaped by the same arms race between predator and prey. There is a reason this fear shows up so consistently across completely unrelated species. Raccoons in California, lions in Tanzania, elephants across multiple continents, none of them share a recent common ancestor with that kind of learned threat recognition built in from birth. What they share is repeated contact with the same pattern of behavior from the same animal, generation after generation, until avoiding that pattern became a survival advantage worth keeping. Evolution does not care why a behavior works. It only keeps what works. And avoiding a creature that can kill from a distance, without ever needing to get close enough to fight, worked extremely well. Consider how unusual that actually is in the animal kingdom. Most predator-prey relationships involve some kind of direct physical contest, speed against speed, strength against strength. A cheetah has to outrun a gazelle. A wolf pack has to outlast a moose. But a thrown spear, and later an arrow, and later still a bullet, remove the contest entirely. Distance stopped being a form of safety. For an animal that evolved over millions of years relying on distance as its primary defense, that single shift was catastrophic, and the nervous system had to adapt or the species didn't survive to pass on its genes. This is part of why some animals seem to recognize specific human postures with such precision. Field observations of elephants in regions with overlapping farmland and human settlements found that the animals could distinguish between a person walking with a tool resting casually on a shoulder and a person holding the same object, raised and aimed. The elephants reacted to the second posture with significantly more alarm calls, faster retreats, and longer-lasting vigilance afterward. They were not interpreting the object itself so much as the entire configuration, body angle, arm position, gaze direction, stacked together into a single readable signal of intent. That kind of pattern recognition takes either an enormous amount of individual learning or, more likely, generations of inherited sensitivity refined by natural selection. Now bring this back to that riverbank one more time, because there is a detail worth adding. The humans hunting there were not hunting alone. Group coordination mattered as much as the weapon itself. A lone human with a spear is a moderate threat. 6 humans moving in coordinated silence, spears angled the same direction, eyes locked on the same target, is something else entirely. Animals that survived encounters with coordinated human groups learned to fear the group dynamic itself, not just the individual weapon. This is likely part of why so many large mammals today show heightened alarm specifically at the sight of multiple humans moving together with deliberate, synchronized posture, even when no weapon is visible at all. The pattern recognition generalized beyond the spear to the behavior that made the spear effective in the first place. It is worth pausing on how strange this inheritance really is. You did not personally teach a single wild animal anywhere on Earth to fear you. You inherited a body that looks, moves, and postures the way it does because of selection pressures stretching back hundreds of thousands of years. And animals inherited a fear response shaped by the accumulated, repeated experience of countless encounters with exactly that body, in exactly that posture, doing exactly that thing. Neither side consciously built this relationship. It built itself, slowly, through millions of individual moments of life or death, each one nudging the next generation's instincts a fraction further in one direction. So, the lion freezes, not because it is afraid of you, because somewhere in its instincts, 400,000 years of evidence is still running the calculation, and it has never once told that animal to wait and see.